Okay, so welcome everyone uh, to our Lifebook Wanderers for January Travel and Health Energy. I know it's been a little while since I've done one of these. Somehow I really couldn't get my head around traveling and doing workshops and lots of work, but it's great to be restarting with the restart of the year. Um, and yeah, I'm definitely in start strong mode. I don't know who's went through the Start Strong challenge with Alex in December. Yes, Yvonne, you're nodding. That's great. But definitely keen to do a little bit more sharing of what I'm up to, and hoping that some of what we cover will be of use to people, and obviously everybody else has some good experiences to share. So thank you for being here today. So a little bit of introduction, if you haven't met me before. My name is Maddie Lovett. I'm a mother of four grown-up children, 21 to 36, I think. And I've got four grandchildren and another one on the way. So life is busy. Uh, I am, I work in film production. I am a certified lifebook leader, and I also, as of the last few months, I'm a YouTuber, which is lots of fun, and a huge learning experience. As a traveler, actually hit it off. I actually got married less than 6 weeks ago. I was You may have seen I was Maddie Maxwell before. Uh, my partner and I, after we'd been together for 12, 13 years, and while we were away on our last extended trip, we decided to get married, and we had a very small family wedding just before Christmas at my daughter's, which was absolutely really, really lovely. And so we sold up our family home that we'd been in together for the previous 8 years in July last year, and hit the road for 4 months. And we had definitely had a bit of experience traveling together and separately prior to our relationship. Uh, but honestly, it took us a little while to get another handle on, welcome, Tim, a real handle on traveling again and trying to travel in a new mode. We'd done a lot of reading of Rolf Potts and the Vagabonding Way, and just really trying to get better at slow travel and at really experiencing the places that we were. So we got off to, great. It was great. Got off to a good start, but we were traveling much faster than we'd intended to, uh, through circumstances of visiting family, the different places we went to. We also left a bit of a trail of belongings over the first few days and weeks in different places. Hotel rooms, showers, family living rooms. And so we had to re-engage our travel brains for packing up, doing the full check. Uh, we realized we had a lot to relearn and to learn from this new and a new era of traveling, really. The post-COVID traveling, there's a lot of people out there, and it's been good. We had some near misses, but we didn't miss any trains or planes, so that was good. And some why did we bring this moments, and I'll carry on later into about traveling light and talking about that. So we started out with the ideal of being home free and traveling for several years. But before we reached the end of our travels, we thought, it'd be really nice to have a home base again. So we are thinking about that as a possibility for later in the year. So things do change, and that's okay. I thought I wanted to absolutely commit to just being on the road and living life out there in the big wide world, but we will see what we choose to do. Today, I'm going to cover three main topics. There's the pre-travel, and the thoughts that are around that. There's maintaining routines for health and fitness while we're traveling. And then also, we will look at maintaining healthy emotional and mental states because that's a huge part of health and fitness too. So, first up, one of the quotes I've got in my character section in my life book, and I'm not even sure where I found this one, but there's, I will not befriend worry. And that's something I have to bring myself back to quite regularly. Uh, I do like this quote from Amelia Earhart. She says, "The time to worry is 3 months before a flight or a trip. Decide then whether or not the goal is worth the risks involved. If it is, stop worrying. To worry is to add another hazard." And I can really relate to that because when I travel in a worried mode or when I worry and stress about getting packed up, the planning, what to take, all those things, it does make life not only harder, but it makes the risks more likely. And as apart from the fact that you are not in your best mental state, because there's all the worry going on, it's also you put yourself in that vibration of thinking about all the things that could possibly go wrong, but more than likely won't. Once you've made that decision to get going, it's really, really good to let that go. So that's sort of how I approach pre-travel. And having just done that again, so I we have actually just um, packed up our backpacks again, ready to head off for most likely 6 months travel next week. So that means, yeah, I'm back in that mode. And each time we've left, last year, this year, we kind of have a soft launch, if you will. So our soft launch this time is a week with family in the North Island of New Zealand, catching up with lots of different family members that we haven't seen much in the last year, if at all. So it's kind of like a soft launch. We've we have the things we're going to take overseas. We've got one or two things that we can decide, okay, we actually don't want to take that with us. We can leave it with family. But basically, we're just about on our way. But of course, we're in our own country. People speak English. We're in the safe space of family. Well, generally, it's pretty safe. Who knows with families sometimes and the challenges that go with that. But so this is our soft launch. And we are both really excited to be getting on the road again and have let go. A week or two ago, there was a little bit of that stress kicking in, and then it was, no, we're on our way, we're all good. So maintaining routines for health and fitness. And that I found that a real challenge last year. How do you maintain your at-home routines for nutrition and fitness? I did it quite badly. I had some ideas and some routines, and I took my routines, my sacred choices from at home, and tried to apply them while we were traveling. And our hours were messed up. Our spaces, we tended to have relatively small hotel rooms, and there just isn't room to stretch out. You haven't got your yoga mat. There just wasn't the space. I struggled with finding a routine that worked for me. And that's something that's it's worth really considering. What are the important things about what you do for fitness and how can you adapt? I've adjusted to some exercises that I can do in a small space. Maybe for you, it might be you prioritize that space you and make sure you have the room if it's important to you to be able to do those things every day. Uh, it might be going to a hotel with a gym or finding a gym nearby if you're there long enough. Um, Utilizing finding classes where you are, and even if you just go along a couple of times, that keeps your routines up. But that's all planning and organization you need to do. Another thing that we would do, or that I would think if we were having to get to a bus or a train and it was within walking distance, even though we've got our luggage with us, I would rather walk than um, get a taxi or hail a grab or whatever it happens to be where we are, get the Uber. Sometimes they were more hassle than they were worth actually. So it was definitely if it was only a reasonably short distance, I would definitely pick the walk. Um, using using the stairs. There was always lots of stairs to go up and down. I don't think I needed to add any extras into our walks and travels. Um, One of the other things I found is switching up your nutritional products. So traveling, especially if you're going for more than 2 or 3 weeks, what do you take with you that is going to be quite bulky in your luggage with nutritional products? Now we've started taking a supplement that's not only bulky, but it needs to be stored in the fridge. So I've found an alternative that is just in capsule form. So we can take that with us and we don't have all that stress of having something we need to put in the fridge or we need to make up every day or anything like that. So thinking about how you can, continue those habits from at home while you're away. It's also about making healthy choices when eating out. So I decided that I would aim to have a salad every day. And there were some countries that was a little difficult to do. And even if there was a salad or ensalata on the menu, sometimes it would turn out to be one time I think it was kind of a little cake of like a potato salad, which wasn't quite what I was expecting, or pickled root vegetables that were called a salad, which wasn't quite, I was hoping for a green salad. And then one time in Morocco, I'd asked for salad and I got this saucer of chopped up lettuce. And I thought, oh, they've made a mistake with this. That's like it's got at least a teaspoonful of salt on this lettuce. That was what the salad was, this saucer of lettuce. And so I sent it back, and they bought me another one. It was exactly the same, just covered in salt. So I had to just poured some water over it and managed to still actually get a little bit of green in. But it is challenging at some places if you're eating out. Uh, Sometimes you might want to book an apartment so you can cook for yourself. Depending on what country you're in, that can work quite well, especially if you're staying for long enough, um, a week or a month to make it really worthwhile. But when we're places like Southeast Asia, most of the time we're really happy to just eat out at street stalls. It's very convenient. There's lots of vegetables, so that still suits us quite well. So, but there are different ways that you can, um, depending on where you are, improve the chances for keeping up that health and routines. One of the other things I've done is really minimized, pared back my sacred choices, those things that I want to do every day. It's just about taking it right back to the minimum that I'm sure I can cope with. And then if I feel like I'm actually achieving those quite easily, I can re-add to it again. But especially in the first week or two of travel, it is challenging, it's challenging to stick to those choices. Um, but with related to those first weeks of travel, there may well be jet lag involved, and sleep challenges will come up, and that also makes it really hard to make healthy choices when you're sleep deprived. So looking at, what beds you're sleeping on, getting fresh air, uh, how hot it is, trying to keeping cool so that you can sleep well and prioritizing sleep. And for me, it really is, I've discovered it really is important to prioritize sleep because there's a lot of other challenges that come up when you're sleep deprived, especially when you're traveling with someone else and somebody gets a little bit grumpy over the lack of sleep. So definitely worth prioritizing sleep when you're traveling, I believe. And sometimes that may mean, you might always want to get up at 6 a.m., but it might be that because of time changes, you do need to sleep in till a bit later, most of the time. So the other aspect I wanted to talk about is how to maintain healthy mental and emotional states that enhance your journey. So on this month's call with John and Missy, there was the question about maintaining positive, healthy vibrations. How do you keep a consistently high level of positive vibrations? And in John's response, and they were talking about energy, he said, "This, I think, is the other side of health and fitness." And I actually really think that's a key thing to remember when we're talking about health and fitness, that that whole other side is really important. Beyond the basics of eat better, move more, there's that whole raft of things you can do for your health, uh, and to keep you at a much more stable level. One of those is breathing. So having some healthy breathing practices. I actually really love when you get to a new country, just I know a key thing for jet lag is to go out and sort of touch nature, touch a tree. When you arrive in a city, sometimes that's challenging, but be in contact. But breathing in the air of that new country, it's not only it can calm you down after the travel process, but it also because you connect yourself with the smells, the sense of the heat of the air or the cool. You connect with just connect with the environment with breathing. So as well as having um good breathing techniques, it really does help to ground you in the country. And as Yvonne says, in the chat, grounding is the best cure for jet lag. Yeah, and I can definitely agree that, just making that connection nice and early, being outside is important. One thing I did find is we actually spent quite a lot of time in cities, and I realized when we did get to some places and spend time in some parks and some gardens, just how much I was affected, that I missed that. And part of me really valued that in New Zealand we have a lot of green spaces and I take it for granted, and most homes have their own garden. So actually, I developed that awareness for myself that I need that time in green spaces, and that is really important to find the gardens, find the parks, and spend a little bit of time breathing. Um, pausing, pausing to take time out. I love this quote from Rolf Potts, the author of Vagabonding. He says, "You must keep in mind that the whole point of long-term travel is having the time to move deliberately through the world. Vagabonding is about not merely reallocating a portion of your life for travel, but rediscovering your entire concept of time." And this is something I'm really working on. I think my concept of time is still not not at the stage where I really want it to be. Uh, but I've had glimpses of that. I've had glimpses of that in learning to let go of the fact that I should be achieving things, that we need to see all these places at this time. Uh, yeah, I like that sense of rediscovering your own body clock and your own way of approaching the allowing time to stretch and be fluid, and learning to deal with that in a different way. He also says the value of your travels does not hinge on how many stamps you have in your passport when you get home. but the slow, nuanced experience of a single country is better than the hurried, superficial experience of 40 countries, I think he says there, of 40 countries. And I really, we traveled faster than we wanted to on the last trip. I was sort of adding up the days last night, thinking we'd planned to spend a month or more in each of about three countries, each of two main countries. And because we've got to visit family, we want to go to Portugal, and we had a great time in Portugal. But we sort of ended up with 3 weeks in Portugal, 3 weeks in Spain, and then had a little bit more extended time in Morocco, which was 4 weeks. But it did mean I felt we were moving every 2 to 5 days most of the time. And that was that got a little bit not only exhausting, but then how do you really connect with a place and really get a really good sense of it if you're rushing through it and just hitting the high spots? Yes, there are some high spots that it's great to see because you're there, but allowing enough time to actually just stroll around and talk to people and find out where else you might want to go is can give you yeah, a lot more of a deeper experience. So I definitely like that idea. Now, just jump out of there. So definitely this trip, we are definitely planning to go slower. We have what have we got? We've got Southeast Asia portion of the travels, which will be a good couple of months, 2 to 3 months, probably closer to three, hopefully, and then probably two countries. Well, we want to get to Egypt, and that'll probably just be a couple of weeks with hitting the high spots, and then a good month in Turkey. So I'm planning on putting in place my uh, slower travel ethic, and really taking our time and picking that we don't have to see every main city or space in, like, for instance, in Turkey. I haven't been to Turkey before, and I'm sure there's a huge amount to see, and we could spend several months there and still not see it all. So just picking some key places to visit and making the most of that time while we are there. So one of my healthy practices is meditation, and ensuring, yeah, you create the space and prioritize time for meditation, I feel is really valuable. And maybe, getting a chance to meditate in some really incredible places, like, yeah, in 2019 being at Angkor Wat, just to meditate at Angkor Wat's just magical, in some of those places, and going to some of the Buddhist temples, and we're going to be in Malaysia this time, and yeah, spending time in spaces where meditation is really valued will be really, really positive for me. Another aspect of that is awareness, really getting in a better space to see what's around, not be focused on, um, the place that we're going to when we're walking, but actually being immersing and maybe seeing a different road you might want to go down, that it's not all about getting to a one particular place. My partner's really good. Greg's actually really, as far as safety goes, and safety and general awareness, he's very much sort of looking around, checking, seeing things that go by that I sometimes miss. And I'm learning to actually, yeah, pick up on some of those things, that just the moments that are fleeting, but that are really worth capturing in your vision. Communication, again, talking about a travel companion, um, it's, I found when there's two of you traveling, there's a real need to learn about who's good at different things and communicate on the planning. because there is a lot of planning when you've got accommodation and transport, and every day the decision to be made, where are we going to eat? What are we going to eat? Where do we want to go? There's decisions to be made all the time that's completely different to when you have a normal routine at home. So for me, the communication was really good when we took the time to actually consider each other's needs. And also sometimes it was a case of, right, you're in charge of navigating today. I'm going to just let you do it. I'm not going to interfere. I'm not going to second guess which way we're going. I'll let you do that today. And it was really nice to just slow down and not worry about if we got lost, and not argue with the maps. Just all right, yep, we'll see where this takes us. So yeah, we got better at that, which was good. The other thing about being in very different cultures is getting an understanding of them. It doesn't matter how much reading you do ahead of time. There are things like things about the culture and the way people think that you cannot pick up until you're in a country and you're with these people and you're talking to them. And I found it a little bit of a challenge in Morocco, realizing that there's a completely different logic to my usual logic. When we asked a question, we would get an answer, but the answer was related to the question, but um, not always the full information. And if you don't know the question to ask or can't ask it clearly in their language, then of course you're not going to have a full picture, even to the extent of when we had to get to the airport early and our accommodation, she'd said to us, "Yes, we will organise your transport. We will." So is there a taxi coming at 4 in the morning? Yes, yes, yes. They will. We will. We will organise it. We will get you. And we've got. Well, do we need to go outside to meet it? Do we? There was all the questions we had, and as it turned out, and we didn't know if we knew that we'd have to walk part of the way, but we didn't know where we'd have to go to meet. And basically, her brother got up at 4 in the morning. He was sleeping there the night, and we thought, oh, you're taking us to the taxi. No, he was taking us to his van, about a 20-minute walk away, to take us to the airport. And it's like, for the Moroccans, there was no need to give us that information. We would have liked to have known it, but he got us to the airport perfectly fine. And his English was actually way better than I thought it was, but he just didn't need to communicate it to us. He just stuck with what he was doing. And I found, there was often occasions where that sort of situation was, I'd really like to know the information, but I don't know what to ask for, or yeah, I've asked the question and I think that's all I'm going to get, and that's okay. We'll just go with the flow. So yeah, that can be a challenge. That can be quite and yeah, sometimes it can you can get annoyed when people approach something with a completely different logic, but there's no point being annoyed when that's just the way they think, and that's we just have to go along with it. Um, I liked having a bit of a visualization to start the day, especially when it might be a busy day or there was a travel day where things could potentially go wrong. It would be I really like doing a bit of a visualization of what would be the best way this day could go, and imagining a really good day and all the good things that could come. And that was a really good tool to improve on my state of mind all the time. Okay, and I'll just jump to share that one. So there will be challenges. There will be a lot to do as far as things when you're traveling, there are a whole lot of things that must be done. But and sometimes it's frustrating. So as Rob Potts says, you should view each new travel frustration, sickness, fear, loneliness, boredom, conflict as just another curious facet in the vagabonding adventure. And actually, that reminder to be curious is is quite yeah, meaningful for me. That reminder that we're in a big world, big wide world. We want to be curious about it, and we want to be curious about our response to it and our response to the challenges. Uh, and for me, that's a key thing to remember when I hit the road. This is actually really valuable to me to actually voice some of these things for you, because for me, getting ready to head off again, it's really, yeah, I really appreciate this opportunity to actually go over and, yeah, put together my thoughts as I have for this session. Um, um, for me, it's also about remembering there's always more to learn. And it doesn't matter if you're going back to a place you've been before, things will have changed. Nowhere is static. So, oh yeah, I've been to this city before. This is how it works. I know how the MRT works. I know how to catch a bus. This is where the best place to stay in the town is. You go back again, even 2 years later in our fast-moving world, things have changed. So there's always more to learn about the place, about the people. You will meet different people this time, and they will actually be different people. They won't be just like the people you met last time. Uh, and then there's also a lot of things you can learn about yourself in the process of the travel and about your travel companions. And by staying curious and thinking, oh, that's interesting. I didn't expect that. Oh, here's an opportunity for me to step up and work out what to do now. Uh, it's a different way of approaching those challenges instead of getting horribly frustrated and angry at each other and um, yeah, perhaps becoming fearful of the travel process because all those decisions to be made and all the challenges you will face can can create fear and can create a lot of upset in relationships or for yourself if you're traveling on your own. And learning to actually just be curious about what's possible from here, what was my response, could I have responded better, and pull those things together. When you are feeling travel stress, homesickness, things are getting overwhelming, it's a really good idea to take some rest days and to allow in your planning for the rest days. I've found if I do too much planning it and too much booking ahead, it then limits the experience in a place when you might want to do more or you actually just want to leave early. But allowing space in your planning and your booking to have some rest days, it's okay to have a day where you don't go and see anything. You eat, you sleep, you maybe swim, go for a walk. You don't actually do anything. It's often probably very important. The longer you're traveling for, the more important those rest days are. Uh, you're not just ticking off a bucket list. You are uh, spending time with yourself, which is really cool. One of my other challenges has been keeping contact with family back at home and feeling guilt of the things I might be missing out on, the school play for the grandchildren, or my son hasn't told me when his graduation from university is. I may well be away for that. Um, I was away for my own graduation, so I don't, it's perhaps isn't something that's quite so critical for me. But making time to keep in contact and to keep abreast of the lives of your family and friends back at home is important. But then also spending some really good quality time with them when you come back uh, is a lot better than being there every day, just day to day, or being there, visiting, every week or month, depending on how close they are. So on this trip, I'm working on ways to keep in better contact with my grandsons who are primary, like junior school age, and help, and give them some learning experiences around the fact that we are traveling. So thinking of ways that make keeping in contact a really valuable thing. My last point there is about traveling light, and this is in more than one way. Weight-wise, quite a few people are really surprised that we can possibly go away for months at a time, and my bag is currently just over we've got just over 12 kgs of chicken luggage each. Uh, but that's easier to do going to warmer countries. But then there's other things you can do if you're going to end up somewhere cooler. Well, there is always markets and things to go shopping at. So partly it's the weight, because if you're moving around, you know, realistically, I'm going to slow things down a bit. But even if we're moving every week, having a heavy bag, and if you have to take it up and down stairs, if the lift isn't working or there isn't a lift, then yeah, the lighter you can travel, the better and simpler, and it's easier to find things and all of those things. Uh, it's also about the baggage that you might carry with you. Uh, if there were things you wanted to get done at home and you didn't achieve them, or there's things you're worried about, figuring out a way to let those go, because you are now in this different environment on the road, and let some of those things go. The third way I like to travel light is I don't like to have too much planned. This trip, we've got the first flights booked, a flight home from Australia because we need a return flight to activate our travel insurance that we've got with our credit card. And we've got 3 nights accommodation booked in Singapore before we head for Malaysia. Uh, we know there are some things we will need to book. We missed out on one or two experiences because we didn't book soon enough. Uh, so we will need to be looking at our um, Egypt experiences that we want to do, going to the new Egyptology Museum. We'll probably need to sometime in the next month or two get that booked in April, May, so that we lock in that leg of our trip. So there will be things we will need to book ahead. Uh, but generally, on our last trip, we would be allowing enough time to stay longer at a place if we wanted to, and then booking a bus or a train, uh, and the next lot of accommodation just before we headed to that place. Uh, One thing we did last time that locked us into a particular location was booking a flight back from Morocco to Spain, probably a month ahead before we got to Morocco, and it actually meant we couldn't vary our last city. We had to fly from Marrakesh. We couldn't go somewhere else and change the way we were doing the order of it. So I think I need to get comfortable with the possibility of booking short flights. If it's booking those smaller flights much closer to the time. Living in New Zealand, we tend to book our flights well ahead, but I think that will be really good for us to have that a little bit more freedom, is to be able to book flights a little bit more on the fly, shall we say. So I've got one more slide I wanted to share with you. Which is another quote from Rolf Potts. So he says, slow down and remember this as you begin your travels. Being busy can be a form of laziness, lazy thinking and indiscriminate action. Being selective, in other words, doing less in a smart way, is usually the more productive and fun path. Focus on the quality of your experiences instead of the quantity. And I feel really fortunate that we have the time to allow for that slowing down and not necessarily being too busy. And I've actually been dipping into Greg McEwen's essentialism, and he says it as well as the way of the essentialist is the relentless pursuit of less but better. It doesn't mean occasionally giving a nod to the principle, it means pursuing it in a disciplined way. And I think, it's yeah, there's a strong correlation between those thoughts of Greg McEwen and Rolf Potts on really, really focusing in on what is the less that I want to do that will be better, provide a better experience, provide a more memorable time, and really give us what we're looking for in this world, and not mean we're busy, 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 busy. And I can well remember that, I don't know if you get going, seeing the supermarket at the checkout operator, and they always ask, "Oh, you're having a busy day?" And there was always quite, "Oh, yeah, really busy, really busy." Yeah, no, it's been a busy day. And I felt like I was always running after my tail, and learning how to slow down and take some time to watch the world has meant a huge amount to me, and it makes it a big difference. So I'd love if anyone has questions or things to share about their own travel experience. I'd love, this is a great opportunity to jump into that now. Um, yeah, we've covered quite a bit on this session, and how are we going for time? Yeah, we've got about 10 minutes left, 10, 12 minutes left. So if there's anything anyone would like to share, I could also tell you about, as I introduced myself at the start, as a YouTuber, our 50 plus backpack channel. This has been another challenge for us in learning how to, we don't want to just see the world through a lens. We want to document it, and we want to have a balance between experiencing and documenting. So developing a little bit of a plan for how we spend a little bit of time in a place, get to know it, see what we want to share, to say it's partly save it for ourselves, share it with family and friends, but not spend all our time just focused on videoing and taking pictures, that actually spending time really getting to know a place before we decide, okay, what is it we want to share about this place? So yeah, so we've basically been on and off. We started the channel back in 22, but we hadn't really added very much until this last year. But we've just about finished sharing our adventures that ended in November last year, unless you count, of course, December, Christmas, getting married, family adventures, and even as on that picture on that last slide was visiting Hobbiton for the first time, which was great fun to do back in New Zealand as a tourist in our own country. And if you are looking at documenting any travels, just remember, it's keeping it real. It doesn't need to be glossy. It's got to be real. It's got to have that depth of your own experience, coloring the way that you're sharing that with others. So, is anyone wanting to share anything?
Yes, Maddie, hi.
Oh, hi,
Sorry, I
Kylie.
copied my camera on. Hi, everyone. Maddie, I'm really interested in the essentialism part of it, how to travel
Hmm.
light and how do you decide on what to pack and what to leave out. And yeah, it's 12 kilos. I mean, I battled the 20 kilos.
Yes.
And it's for a week or two, and you go for like months. So yeah,
Yeah.
how does that work? Do you have to find a laundry on the go? I'm sure you do,
Yes.
obviously. Pay for that. But I mean, also, what do you pack and what do you leave out?
Right. So really, it will depend where you're going and what sort of events you might be going to and what you might need. Um, I do like to be able to dress up a little bit sometimes. That's not critical the whole time, but it is nice to have. So for this trip, I've actually picked up a nice lightweight jacket in Madrid, which I will probably wear on planes and things. And if we go out for a nice dinner, then I will definitely be wearing that. So it's sort of looking at the clothing that you need for where you're going. We tended to go and find a laundry if so 5 days to a week at the maximum. We'd go to a laundromat, or if you're somewhere like Southeast Asia, there's always a laundry service that's pretty reasonable. There are a lot of places, hotel laundry services would be very expensive. You'd be spending a fortune if you utilize the hotel ones, but in Southeast Asia, it can be pretty reasonable getting somebody else to do that laundry. But we found it wasn't too hard to find a laundromat. And as long as you've got a little bit of time in your day, yeah, doing your washing. Uh, I using packing cubes. Yes, the weight obviously is going to be the same regardless, whether you've got packing cubes or just things are in a suitcase or a pack. But it makes it much easier to pack them. It keeps the things organized. And so I know I've got my three dresses in that bag and a couple of other outfits and a little bit of sometimes people say, mix and match. Merino can be good because it doesn't you don't have to wash it as often. It breathes, it doesn't start smelling very quickly. I haven't got much in the way of merino at this stage. Um, if you need warm clothes, then that might be what you might end up wearing that onto the plane, but you obviously don't want to be too hot on the plane. So, yeah, so there are a few factors in it. Most places I stay, well, no, we do stay some cheaper places that don't, but if you need a hairdryer, there's usually one um, in a hotel. Toiletries and things, get it down to the bare minimum. I was talking about supplements, but there are things you can buy places. Don't, you don't need to stock up on everything that you'll need for the whole time because the pharmacies, health food stores, most places in the world you can probably find if you need to replace something, you can find it. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
love the
probably, does that
idea.
cover?
Yes, I love the idea of getting down to the bare minimum when I'm traveling, Maddie. I think I'll start working on a list because then every time you pack, you've got your list. And I think every time you leave a place, you can also check that you've packed
Yeah,
everything. So,
yes. Yeah, that's a good point because yeah, I did leave a wee trail at the start of our travels, and then I got right. No, I've got to no, I know what I've got, where it goes, and I'll instantly know if something's missing, and I'll do that. What we do our idiot check, probably a couple of times before we leave a place or get out of a taxi. Yes, that was
oh, the
leaving a
cubes would
leaving us.
help.
Yeah,
Yes, sorry, Maddie. Yeah, I did that. I
what's
left my jumper in the taxi
yeah,
when I arrived in Portugal. I thought,
yes.
damn, it was the only one I had.
Yeah, and that's it. You're rushing, you've just arrived, you're jet lagged, so you're not thinking as clearly as you otherwise would. And yeah, so it's easy. It's really nice just to have that just momentary take a breath, It'll calms you down in your rush, and also it gives you a chance to look around and make sure you haven't left anything in the cafe, the hat on the chair or the bag. We had to go back to a couple of places for things we'd left behind at cafes, but they were always there, fortunately. Yeah,
Right. Thanks, Maddie.
that's okay. Thank you, Talia. And we've got oh, Yvonne said I travel with mostly Merino. So your experience with Merino, Yvonne, is that really
Yeah, I mean, I'm in Canada, so it's cold, and merino, like you can get the thin merino, and it makes all the difference, and it's really easy to hand wash.
hmm
But also, what I found, I don't use deodorant, I just use glycolic acid, and it doesn't wreck your clothes, and you can wear them twice as often. But it's liquid, so you can only bring so much.
Yeah.
So even changing your toiletries to something, and also just using bars, shampoo bars, and that because of the
hmm
liquids on the plane. But we're planning on doing North America, but in a Class B van, so a converted van, and it
Great.
takes care of so much of of the things. But yeah, you can't. I mean, because we've got a lot of land mass we could cover for years. Um,
Yes.
but it doesn't help going overseas. But a lot of people we know will then go overseas and rent a Class B van and drive around, just because you
Yeah.
have your bed with you, you have your food, you have your stuff. You're not
Yeah.
having to keep packing and unpacking. And that does make a huge. It's just a different experience.
Mm. Yeah, and different experience, but also very much a yeah, a great experience to have that home with you, and you've got
Yeah,
that security, that safety, that ease. I mean, it comes with other challenges, obviously with the driving, but it can just mean you can experience things in a different way and feel a lot more connected by being on the ground as you go. That's great.
yeah.
Yes.
And I also like how you were talking at the beginning about having a home base,
hmm
because I think that's really important to just have. And we were just going to like rent out a couple rooms in the house, like for roommates kind of thing, and then
hmm
just have one area where we would have, so we always know we have our stuff there and that place, because I think sometimes we can't get rid of everything, and
No.
we don't want to pay for storage, and then you're
Yeah.
starting over. So I think that's a just having a room somewhere. You don't need a big space, but it really helps.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a room at my brother-in-law's house. We don't want to sort of spend months living in his back bedroom, but we have a room and quite a bit of our stuff there. And then we've just got a 20-foot container of the rest of our stuff that we just, yeah, knew that we didn't want to start again from scratch. And it's, the artwork and the furniture we've picked up over the years that we just don't really yeah, wanted to keep. So and we were fortunate that we had a free place to park that. So we're very lucky there. Yeah. So any other shares? We've got a couple of minutes left. No? Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone, for attending. I will do my best when we're in Malaysia to pull together another session. It will be at a different time of day because otherwise it'll be like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning for me. So I'll be making the next one at a slightly different time of day. But I really appreciate everybody coming along today, and I hope you've got at least one or two tips through this. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thanks a lot. That was excellent.
Okay, we'll see you all again at one place or another on the calls.